that you see rendered in Gran Turismo 7 as the Greening Auto Company Maverick. And on that note, exactly what is Greening Auto Company and why do they only have one car in Gran Turismo 7? We're actually going to get to that a little bit later, but if you look at this car and you think it's some kind of hot shit muscle car from the early 70s, I'm here to tell you that you're actually wrong. In fact, let's actually start by talking about what the Ford Maverick is not, and that'll help you understand what the Ford Maverick actually is. First of all, it's not a muscle car. It is not a fastback. It's not a pony car. It's not even technically a sports car. No, ladies and gentlemen, the Ford Maverick is a compact economy car.
Did your last car turn you off? Drink too much gas? Cost too much money? Why gamble? This year, make yourself a Maverick in the economy Maverick, and save a lot of money.
That was developed by Ford for model years 1970 to 1977 to replace the original 1960 Ford Falcon. This car was smaller than the Mustang of the 70s, and it was created to compete with the increasing surplus of imported compact eco cars that were flooding the American market in response to the rising oil crisis of the early 70s. So this car is basically a 1970s Ford Civic. It retailed for $1,995, which is 15,000 American dollars today. And it was created to compete in the imported subcompact car class. So why in the world did Greening Auto Company decide to invest seemingly thousands of dollars into this car to convert it from an efficient grocery getter that a flight attendant could actually put together?
We asked 5 stewardesses to put it back together again. Well, the girls proved it. Maverick, the simple machine.
To what is most likely one of the most powerful street-legal 70s hot rods in existence. Well, to put it simple, man has money, man buys car, man spends money on car. If you're the type of person who likes to customize cars, then you know that once you get that bug, you will find a way to spend your money on your car. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the picture-perfect description of a gentleman named Jimmy Shaw, whose vision was brought to life with this car. Jimmy Shaw is the owner of the Greening Auto Company Ford Maverick. He has owned over 200 cars in his lifetime and is basically what you would define as an extreme auto enthusiast. And so what about Greening Auto Company? What makes them special? Why do they only have one car in Gran Turismo 7? Well, Greening Auto Company is a hot rod shop, first and foremost. And so if you used to watch trashy network television in the early 2000s and had an affliction for choppers and motorcycles, then you'll recognize names such as West Coast Customs, Orange County Choppers, and this is kind of like that, but for cars. Greening Auto Company machines custom parts, they machine custom wheels, and they build hot rods from the ground up. They are a father-son team, Jesse and Jeff Greening, and they build 2 to 3 cars per year that are full builds from the ground up. And so what about this Maverick? Why is this Maverick in Gran Turismo? If they're pumping out 2 to 3 cars a year, why aren't all of those cars in Gran Turismo? Well, the reason is simple. Because these cars are builds from the ground up, and because this is such a heavily customized Maverick, which produces 1,200 horsepower out of the twin-turbo V8 and 900 foot-pounds of torque. It has 19-inch custom wheels fitted with 355 rubber on the back. That means they're a massive 14 inches wide. That is like double the size of your average wheel, actually more than double. And so for this car to have any kind of traction, we had to put these massive wheels, massive tires on it. It was built to do top speed and circuit runs. It was actually quoted as having a trap speed of over 200 miles per hour in the 1 mile trap in real life. The car has won multiple awards, including the SEMA Gran Turismo Award, which is why Greening Auto Company got this car rendered as a digital rendition in Gran Turismo 7. This is very similar to what I previously told you about the Roadster Shop Rampage that I did a review on. And actually, this is something really interesting because Roadster Shop, they're building a bit of a track record here because Greening Auto Company actually partnered with them to create the chassis and frame for this car. So if you see these aggressive flared out fenders and the frame for this car, the custom bodywork, all of that is a byproduct of the Roadster Shop partnership. So even though this is a Greening Auto Company Maverick, it has the external essence and flair of Roadster Shop. And so Roadster Shop basically has two cars that have won the Gran Turismo award and made their way into the game, which is pretty impressive. So let's go on ahead and talk about customizations real quick. It's actually kind of disappointing with this car. It is already so heavily customized, but even though it is so heavily customized, once we get into the game, there's very little that we can actually do with it. We can basically put a different spoiler on it and change the headlight colors and put different wheels on it. So similar to the Roadster Shop, they don't let you customize the exterior of the car. And I think that's because, this car is the car that won the award and they want to preserve that, right? So there's little that you can do in the way of customizing the exterior, but that's okay because if you flip over to the tuning shop, this is actually crazy. So I already told you the specs, 1200 horsepower, 900 foot-pounds of torque, right? V8 engine. The car still has room for improvement. You can still put a racing exhaust on it. You can still put nitrous in it. You can still put ceramic brakes with the racing brake pads. You can still increase the body rigidity of this car. You can put a sport-tuned suspension on it and a racing transmission. So even though this car has 1200 horsepower right now, you can actually take it to above like 1300 horsepower, which is insane. So I'm really looking forward to doing that. But for the sake of our testing today, we're going to be testing it in its bone stock form, and we're going to go on ahead. Let's head to the track right now and see whether or not Gran Turismo and Polyphony did this car justice. So we are at Special Stage Route X, and we are here because this car claims to have 1200 horsepower and a 1 mile trap speed of 200 miles per hour in real life. And so we want to test that out in the game, see how well Polyphony modeled that aspect of the car. And of course, we want to check out the quarter mile time and the just total raw top speed. So we're going to go on ahead and see what we're able to do here. I want you to pay attention to the markers on the ground. Special Stage Route X has meter markers. So the quarter mile is going to be 400 meters. The 1 mile will be 1600 meters. And then we'll see where we get the top speed at. So after we do that, we're going to see how long it takes us, so how many meters it takes us to slow down from whatever top speed we achieve. All right, so let's go on ahead. We're going to turn our traction control to 1 just for the launch because, again, 1200 horsepower. And let's go on ahead and see what we can do. You could hear it chirping in second. That's 300 meters. This is 400. We got 400 meters in just under 11 seconds. So that's pretty good. Next marker we're looking for of significance is the 1600. So that's 1200 meters. 13, 14. Where are we at? 15, 1600 meters. We were going 220 miles per hour. So let's go on ahead and see what our top speed is in this car. We're at 235, 240. Still climbing, 242. We're about to go up the hill, 243. 243? Yeah, okay, so we got 243 stock. Okay, I've not modified this car yet. You can still put nitrous in it. You can still put a racing exhaust in it. You can still put the racing computer in it. There's still a lot of performance. You can adjust the transmission. There's still a lot that you can get out of this. We're at 244, 245, 246. Guys, 247. Holy cow. For 248. Wow. Stock, guys. Stock. We hit 248 in this car. All right, next we're going to go to the 8,000 meter marker. And then once we get to 8,000, we're going to see how quickly we can brake, how long it takes us to brake to a stop. So that's 8,500 up ahead. So we're about halfway between 84 and 8,500. So a little bit over a quarter mile, about 450 meters to stop from 245 or so miles per hour. That's insane, guys. This car is a beast. And once the suspension is tuned, wow, I can only imagine. I mean, how much fun this car is going to be to drive. All right, let's go ahead and flip over for some circuit testing, see how well it actually does going around a track. We're at Big Willow, and I chose Big Willow because, one, we are in a Ford. and Ford is basically the very fabric of everything that is American automotive. And I thought, you know, Big Willow, also the very fabric of everything that is American motorsport. What better place to take this car around and just see how it handles going around a circuit? And so, back end's getting a little oversteery. We'll have to watch that. A couple things about the car. So when you look at the spec sheet, you'll actually notice that the low speed stability is rather neutral. So it looks pretty good as far as like what they quote you. And then the high speed stability is quoted to be very unstable at high speed. Now, because of the way the Big Willow track layout is, I really don't anticipate we're going to be able to test the high speed stability that much. But, well, all right. I guess that's what happens when you brake check on the apex of a corner. Let's go on ahead and just see, you know, so far the car feels pretty good. It feels planted. You know, that section of track right there, there's a lot of undulations. You can get some weird understeer going through there. The car feels planted, but it doesn't turn in very well. So I would expect that. You know, the car weighs 3,000 to 600 pounds. The bodies on these cars were, you know, heavier gauge metal, and so, you know, they put a lot of extra sheet metal into the actual body of this car. There's some carbon fiber pieces as well. That's going to be P1, but well, okay, that's great. Anyways, getting rammed off by the NPCs. Yeah, so it's a heavy car. It's got a lot of power. The suspension is a sport-tuned suspension right now. And, you know, it doesn't feel terrible, but there's a lot more that this car has that we can unleash if we actually tune the suspension and really get it dialed in. You know, maybe give it a little bit more camber, stiffen up the springs a bit. Yeah, so I'm really excited about that. Honestly, guys, $300,000. It's, you know, it's a no-brainer, unless if you just have some weird thing against Ford. Maybe you're a Chevy man. I just watched this movie called A Man Called Otto, and it had Tom Hanks in it, which I'll watch pretty much anything that has Tom Hanks in it. But something really funny about this movie, so it kind of took place around this time frame, like the 70s, like, you know, just like way, you know, kind of like the olden days, if you will. And, you know, people were different back then. He got into this is a theme in the movie, but his best friend was a Chevy guy, and Tom Hanks was a Ford guy. Or maybe it was the other way around. Tom Hanks was the Ford guy. His best friend was the Chevy guy. And it's funny because, like, that became a feud to where, you know, they would, as they were getting older and, you know, they were buying new cars, they'd always, like, show each other their new car, and it kind of just became this wedge between them. Whereas, like, you don't really have that kind of loyalty nowadays where people really care about that kind of stuff. But back then, you know, if you were a Ford man, you were a Ford man. Ooh, and if you were a Chevy man, you were a Chevy man. And then at one point, we even had Chrysler until they went bankrupt. And so, you know, just a different era for automobiles. And, you know, this is, of course, a Ford. So if you're a Chevy guy, maybe you wouldn't want to buy it. But if you're not a Chevy guy, and if you're open to trying new things, then I would definitely encourage you to try this car out, because it is a lot of fun to drive. It is very nice to look at. It is a really cool car that won the Gran Turismo award. And, you know, once we get into the livery editor with this thing, I mean, look at it. Look at those fender flares. The possibilities are endless. Those wide 14-inch tires, carbon fiber rear spoiler, and it's got this weird piece of plastic kind of between the rear spoiler there. So actually really cool that we got put into a race with the same car, so we can get a view of it that we otherwise wouldn't get going around the racetrack. You can look at the side mirror over there. It's got the little Racing Cup side mirrors as I get spun out from the AMG over here. That's great. Typical Mercedes driver. Just kidding. Yeah, anyways, let's go on ahead, see if we can get around the Ford GT and bump it up into P3. No, P4. to finish the race out. So there we have it, guys. The 1971 Ford Maverick from the Greening Auto Company. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it. I really do enjoy these car review videos more than a lot of the other content I've been putting out lately. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this in the future. And if you have any requests for what to do next for the Gran Turismo car review, go ahead and drop those in the comments below as well. I'll be happy to take that into consideration. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. If you're in the United States, have a great Memorial Day weekend, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.